Now, there's lots of industries on Teesside that use lots and lots of energy. We know that. Now, some of that energy gets sent into the atmosphere in the form of climate-changing and climate-damaging CO2. It's long been hoped that our region will become a forerunner for something called carbon capture and storage, which would see the harmful emissions stored safely underground instead. And it's been claimed today that those plans have moved a little step closer. Conservative MP for Middlesbrough South and East Cleveland, Simon Clarke, says the government has set out a number of questions it needs to have answered before it can invest in the technology. And we'll be speaking to Mr Clarke after 5 o'clock this evening on the said subject. Now, Southbank's Mineral Processing Institute is working with the industry to try to help firms reduce carbon emissions. Managing Director Chris McDonald says finding ways to reduce energy consumption and cut emissions is one of the biggest challenges facing the industry on Teesside.
Industries that we deal with are all generally very energy intensive. So if you think of cement and ceramics and titanium and aluminium and so on. And energy is the single biggest cost often in those industries. And it's not just the cost of energy, it's the cost of the carbon in the energy as well, actually. And so for those industries to be sustainable in the future, then they need to find a solution where they can use less energy. Frankly, it's a life or death issue for these industries. They must be sustainable in the future. The materials they produce are essential for human development. And so we've got to find solutions to the innovation challenges around that.
Now, Chris McDonald says Teesside is the perfect place to bring on technology like CCS.
It's not a case of, well, we would like this to happen in Teesside. There are very few places in the world that have the wherewithal, the skills, the capabilities and the infrastructure to be able to make this happen. And as it happens, Teesside is one of those places, and we shouldn't be shy about saying that. So there is probably nowhere better in the UK, probably only 2 or 3 places in Europe where this could happen. So, for instance, we're bringing forward a project around low-carbon energy for industry using hydrogen. There's one other such project in Europe, which is centred in Austria, and is a big collaboration between the Austrian industry and government. There are no other such projects around the world, and yet people are pointing to this as a really important step for the future.
Now, in recent years, the cost of full carbon capture and storage project on Teesside was put at £1 billion, and the government has balked at shelling out such an amount of money. But the Conservative Mayor for the Tees Valley, Ben Houchen, believes they can win support for a pilot project here.
I'm working very, very hard to deliver the CCS project as the pilot flagship project for the whole of the UK to be in the Tees Valley. I'm working very closely with Simon Clarke, who I know is constantly at the door of Claire Perry, who's in charge of this. We've had some very positive responses back from central government, but positive responses is not action, and we'll make sure that both I and Simon will be working extremely hard to make sure they sign on the dotted line that we are the world lead and the UK lead for CCS. And it'll be a huge opportunity for the area, and it'll be a start along what Chris said about innovation, low energy, and being able to support local businesses around that as well.